Red Hammer Studios is a name that needs no introduction. For nearly 20 years, this team has developed some of the highest quality modded vehicles and weapons for Operation Flashpoint and Arma communities, and is moving swiftly into the Enfusion Engine realm to bring us what will no doubt become some of the best assets available in Arma 4. This mod review is one I've wanted to do for a long time, and I'm finally getting around to making it. Unless you've literally never opened Arma 3 before, the chances of not knowing what RHS mods are is pretty slim, but their beauty and attention to detail is second to none. While I've primarily focused this channel on lesser known mods in an effort to shine light on the incredible work being put out into the workshop on a near daily basis, I felt it was time to dive into RHS to showcase just how much they've done over the years, and I'll be starting with the US Armed Forces mod. If you enjoy this video and want to see more of what RHS has to offer, drop a JDAM on that like button and comment down below what you love or dislike about RHS mods. While you're there, hitting the subscribe button and bell icon will ensure you don't miss out on the future videos and helps my channel grow more than you can possibly imagine. Now with that, let's get right into the mod showcase. The RHS US Armed Forces mod is broken up into 4 main subgroups: the US Army, US Marines, SOCOM, and a small US Air Force subgroup. We'll start with the US Army subgroup and work our way down. Starting off is the warhorse of the modern US era conflict, and that is the trusted Humvee. RHS has included everything from the earlier iterations to the beefy, up-armored versions that saw extensive combat action in Iraq and Afghanistan for nearly 20 years. RHS includes a ton of individual variants that include different armaments like 50 cals, Mark 19 grenade launchers, and even a tow missile variant, but it's the depth of customization that really makes RHS shine in my opinion. Opening up the Edit Vehicle Appearance menu in the editor and navigating to the Components section, you can easily see just how much has been added to each asset, allowing you to completely transform an otherwise basic vehicle into something modern and ultra-utilitarian. This is a common theme across many RHS assets. Many troops have a love-hate relationship with the Humvee, but its presence in Hollywood as well as the gaming world is so incredibly prominent that it will probably be decades before we see it start to disappear in favor of the newer vehicles. Speaking of the new vehicles, the Humvee was slated to be replaced by the Oshkosh M-ATV family of vehicles, which are also beautifully modeled by RHS. You may be familiar with this vehicle as it was the basis for the Hunter MRAP from the base Arma 3 game. While they have not completely replaced the Humvee in 100% capacity, the M-ATVs are definitely well on their way to becoming a new standard for utility vehicle operations, as they provide vastly superior resistance to IEDs and rocket fire, but also increased carry capacity and safety features, as the top-heavy Humvees were rollover machines and tragically took the lives of many top gunners throughout the war in South Asia. These MRAPs are incredibly capable and customizable within Arma 3 and afford some of the better protection from IEDs and RPGs alike. However, they are not invincible and should never go into a combat situation unsupported. While the Army and Marines were narrowing down their requirements for troop protection and more modernized utility, vehicles like the M1220 and M1232 made their way into the hands of motorized infantry units. These combined MRAP elements into a heavier utility platform, allowing for increased troop and cargo capacity at the cost of size and overall profile. Again, multiple variants are provided with RHS and include many different weapon platforms to engage various enemy types. The military police would also field and utilize an armored security vehicle called the M1117 that would serve as an internal security vehicle for main operating bases and convoy security, being armed with both an M2 heavy machine gun and Mark 19 grenade launcher, making it a formidable weapons platform. Moving on to the trucks category, RHS again delivered on the multitude of variants in service with the modern US Armed Forces today. The M1078 and the M1083 FMTVs, or Family of Medium Tactical Vehicles, are also on full display by RHS, a late 1980s requirement intended to replace the aging M35 family of 2.5-ton vehicles across the US Army. The FMTVs have the same customizable utilitarian depth as all the other vehicles within RHS, and is truthfully a monster of modern combat ground logistics. These retain the ability to be transported via C-130 cargo aircraft, a feature required by the US Army for quick tactical redeployments in theater, as well as being able to be airlifted via Chinook, further increasing its rapid deployability. In addition to the FMTVs, the M977 HEMMT family of combat vehicles also makes an appearance as the trusted combat workhorse it's been since the late 1980s. Standard and up-armored variants are included, allowing for moderate convoy protection. However, these vehicles should still travel supported at all costs, as their contents and their cargo is often volatile in nature. Also, considering how critical logistics are to combat operations, it should be a mission commander's top priority to ensure the supply lines are cleared and open when able. Next, we'll cover the US Army's APCs, or Armored Personnel Carriers. Starting us off is the time and combat tested M113 family of APCs. Like most vehicles in this pack, desert and woodland camo schemes are featured. The variants provided are the modernized A3 versions. Armed with M250 cals and Mark 19s, the M113A3 is still a relevant workhorse on the modern battlefield, though still lightly armored and as such should rarely see combat unsupported by infantry or heavy armor. The more modernized Stryker family of APCs is one of the more prominent of the subgroup, bringing to bear increased armor protection, modernized weapon systems like the Crow system, and increased mobility with their 8-wheel design. The Stryker variant also comes with an anti-armor version in the M1134 design, able to launch anti-tank guided missiles with extreme precision, giving a solid anti-armor punch to mechanized infantry companies. Moving along to the infantry fighting vehicles, we've got another battle-hardened veteran of modern combat, and that is the M2 Bradley family of IFVs. Largely considered one of the most troubled ground weapons system acquisitions in existence, the M2 Bradley has served honorably for 30 years in all kinds of environments, but got its combat debut in the First Gulf War. Featuring the heaviest armament outside of a main battle tank, the Bradley IFVs can also transport up to 6 troops and provide fire support for them when dismounted. The Bradleys have also been designed to keep up with heavy armor like the M1A2 Abrams main battle tanks, a requirement of the program at the beginning. The Bradley is also air transportable via C-17 Globemaster III and can fit up to 3 in the USAF mod C-17, though I'm not sure if that's how many can fit in real life due to weight limitations. Looking at our artillery options, we've got another combat-tested beast in the M109A6 Paladin. One of the more modernized variants of the M109 used by Western militaries, the A6 is armed with a sophisticated fire control system and a powerful 155mm cannon. The Paladin is capable of keeping up with the main battle group, however should never be left unsupported as they are incapable of defending themselves from attack, and thus should be left in heavily fortified positions with support elements. As vehicles like the Paladin began to get phased out, however, the more mobile M142 HIMARS, or High Mobility Artillery Rocket System, have come online. The HIMARS began receiving widespread notoriety during the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, when the US began foreign aid packages to Ukraine, submitting many HIMARS units to counter the Russian offensive. The Ukrainian defenders put the training and weapons to immediate use and has been cited as one of the most effective weapons utilized in the war to date. Essentially a smaller, more mobile version of the aging M270 MLRS system, the 227mm rockets come in many different variants, including high explosive and cluster submunitions that are devastating in combat against all forms of targets. Wrapping up the US Army ground vehicles are the world-renowned M1A1 and A2 series of main battle tanks. Arguably some of the best tanks to ever be fielded in modern combat, the Abrams is the combat-proven armored fist the United States uses to punch holes in any kind of defense and are the tip of the armored spear used in offensives. Featured in the mod are the A1 and A2 variants, from the M1A1 AIM to the more modernized M1A2 SEP V2. Though there have been more system enhancement packages since the mod's release, including the new Abrams X, which has yet to be included in any mod. Like the other vehicles in this mod, customization of the externals are plentiful and help add a realistic look and feel to your armored columns as more and more items were strapped onto these tanks over time. The US Army fields some of the most sophisticated and deadly rotary aircraft to ever take flight. Known around the world and loved by all, the incredible UH-60 medium-lift utility helicopter is one of the centerpieces of the U.S. Armed Forces helicopters. You'd be hard-pressed to find an Arma 3 unit that does not utilize this amazing workhorse. Capable of moving an entire squad and providing supporting fire from its door guns and even some of the extended weapons stores, the Blackhawk has served honorably for 40 years in not just the US but many nations, and will continue to do so well into the 21st century. The heavy-lift CH-47 Chinook is also another crowd favorite, capable of moving 2 full squads worth of infantry and even entire artillery pieces, allowing rapid redeployment around a battlefield. The Chinook has served the U.S. Armed Forces and other major Western nations since the Vietnam War. The perfect combination of power, speed, and utility, the Chinook will be an impossible aircraft to try and replace. Capable of defending itself with side-mounted M134 miniguns, the CH-47 will power through in the 21st century as the aerial monster of logistics it's always been. We finally draw to the attack helicopter realm, to an aircraft that needs almost no introduction with its iconic look. The AH-64 Apache has long been the golden standard for attack helicopter design. Combining lethality, speed, maneuverability, and survivability into a singular and dominant aerial platform, Boeing captured lightning in a bottle with this one. Featured in RHS as the AH-64D Longbow variant, capable of bringing up to 16 Hellfire anti-tank missiles each, or more preferred balanced loadout with Hydra rockets, 8 Hellfires, and even wingtip mounted ATAS Stinger missile systems, which is an aesthetic I personally love. Augmenting the primary armament is the 30mm M230 chain gun, which is capable of being slaved to the pilot and gunner's helmet display systems, and is synergy of combat effectiveness not known to many other aerial platforms. A solid aircrew team inside one of these machines is one of the most devastating combinations of firepower known on the modern battlefield. We now move over to the US Marine Corps side of the house, and while they share many of the same vehicles, I won't be going back over them unless there is a clear difference between the two subgroups. The primary vehicle addition to the USMC side are in their aviation subsection, with vehicles like the venerable CH-53 Echo, the heavy-lift badass in service with the United States Armed Forces since the Vietnam War that has seen multiple service life improvements and mechanical enhancements over the last 4 decades. An absolute beauty of a flying machine, and one that requires more finesse and patience than many lighter aircraft. The UH-1Y Venom is the most advanced version of the time-tested UH-1 in existence and has served honorably with the US Marine Corps since entering service in 2008, replacing the aging fleet of UH-1N twin Hueys. The improved engines and 4-blade composite rotor system bring the Venom back in the utility realm for which the Huey was initially designed. And finally, the AH-1Z Viper, one of the most advanced attack helicopters in the world. Forged in war and built to support the grunts on the ground, the Viper is the ultimate Cobra. Capable of carrying as much firepower as an Apache in a simpler platform, the AH-1Z was purpose-built as part of the H-1 program alongside the UH-1Y, which greatly reduced the cost of both programs, offering 84% commonality of avionics and mechanical components like the rotor system and drivetrains. This simplicity of design, coupled with the proven combat effectiveness, has solidified the Viper as the premier cast platform for the United States Marine Corps. Ground vehicles wise, the Marines share the M1A1 with the Army, specifically the FEP or Fire Enhancement Package, bringing the Marine tanks up to par with the Army's fire protection systems and armor ratings. The Cougar MRAP is also a unique addition to the USMC MRAP subsection, capable of withstanding a ton of punishment from IEDs and focuses on crew survivability. Moving over to the US SOCOM subgroup, and probably one of the more popular airframes in common use these days amongst Arma communities, is the AH6 Little Bird. SOCOM fields both the MH6 and AH6 variants, capable of transporting Special Forces operators in and out of intense hotspots with extreme maneuverability. A favorite of the US Army's 160th Sword Unit, made popular by books turned movies like Black Hawk Down, the Little Bird is a trusted special warfare workhorse that has seen constant upgrades throughout the decades. Capable of taking rockets, miniguns, and even heavy 50 caliber rotary cannons, the Little Bird is often the aircraft of choice for many rotary operators in Arma 3. SOCOM also fields multiple Special Operations trucks and MRAPs purpose-built for clandestine operations to include specialized camo schemes. And finally, there is the Mark V Special Operations Craft, which was sadly discontinued in 2013, which was replaced by the newer, more specialized Sea Lion craft. The Mark V can cruise at speeds of up to 80 kph and is armed with two 50 caliber machine guns, an M134 minigun, and a Mark 19 grenade launcher. The craft can take substantial punishment before being subdued, and with its rapid speed and agility makes it a highly specialized vehicle for seaborne soft forces to engage and destroy targets. Finally, the United States Air Force has what is probably the most underdeveloped subgroup within the U.S. Armed Forces mod. Included in this group are 3 aircraft. The F-22 Air Dominance Fighter, which was an interesting choice of addition in my book, as it is by far the least prolific aircraft in our inventory, but even though it is nearly 30 years old, she is still the most dominant air-to-air weapons platform ever created by human hands. Second, we have another odd choice, the A-10A Thunderbolt II, more lovingly referred to as the Warthog. I say it's an odd choice because this is the A model, which we've not flown since 2011, when the A-10C modernization program was completed, but I'm guessing Red Hammer Studios just wasn't digging too deep on the aircraft and decided to focus their efforts on the ground vehicles. And finally, we've got what has to be the most prolific, efficient, and loved tactical airlifter of all time, the C-130 Hercules, in its newer J configuration. The Air Force assets have zero customization, unfortunately, aside from their weapons hardpoints, so if you're looking for custom liveries and more involved USAF aircraft, you should definitely have the USAF mod loaded to offset the lack of air assets within RHS. And with that brings us to the conclusion of the RHS US Armed Forces vehicles. Depending on how well this video does will dictate if the OPFOR and Green Forces mods get covered, so be sure to let me know how you liked the video in the comments and help this video flourish. Thank you as always to my incredible patrons whose support is appreciated every single day at this channel. If you're interested in joining the ranks of these legends, see the link in this video's description. And finally, I'd like to thank you, the viewer, for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. 2022 is coming to a close, and I can't thank you all enough for how successful this channel has become as we hit 30,000 subscribers this year, actually this month alone. So that's amazing to me. Thank you, all of you, and welcome to all of my newest subscribers. But we're not stopping here, and I can't wait to see what's in store for this channel in 2023. Thank you all again for your time and for watching, and I will see you in the next video.